Okay, so now you've disconnected the vehicle from the trailer. What you're gonna do next is you're gonna wanna make sure that your trailer is level with the ground so that you can get it even if it needs to. Right now you can see this trailer is already level. If it's not level, you'll turn this crank and lower it or raise it accordingly to make sure that you're level.
1.
Okay, once it's level, the next thing you want to do is you want to put the level supports down underneath it. So by doing that is underneath here, there is an arm. In order to release this arm, you want to pull out on it and then it brings it down. In the up position, you're going to pull out towards the direction that it's facing and then move it up and down.
Okay.
Now you can see that there's a gap there. So this lever here, you push down on that gap and it'll fall forward and you can just let it go. This one is done. We'll repeat for the two back ones.
1.
Okay, so all total there are 3 of these stands. And so again, the way you do it is the direction that the foot is pointing, pull out on it to release it to make it go down. And then once it's in the down position, you push down on this lever and that'll release the rest of the foot. Now it's locked in and now your trailer is ready to be put up and it won't move side to side.
1.
All right, now that the trailer is level and it's secured on the base, now the next thing we want to do is we want to release the clamps so that we can begin making the pop-up go up. So the way you do that, there's going to be 4 of them. Underneath the tarp, there's going to be 2, one here and one over there. So in order to release that, you're going to pull down on that flap and it'll release it, okay? Again, you're gonna pull down. Notice the pop-up started to come up a little bit. You can apply a little bit of weight to make it release. Repeat it for the other side. Open the flap. Open the last flap, and there you go. All 4 of them are done. Now the roof is unlocked and we're ready to pop it up. The one thing that we can do at this point so that we don't forget is once it's popped up all the way, our air conditioner plug is on the top of the roof, so you want to make sure you open the flap for it before you start getting it all the way up, otherwise you may not be tall enough to plug it in.
Okay.
All right, so now that we're ready to raise the roof up, then we got to open up this door so we can get our hand crank so we can have that in our hand. So we're going to use this key and we're going to turn this to open it up, turn it halfway, and that releases the door, and now we can open up the door. This door has a locking hinge right here that just turns and locks it into place. You can leave the keys there for right now. That's a good place for them. Okay, so right now we have things that we've secured in there, so we can take those out. And so what we're looking for is this. This is our crank for raising up the pop-up.
1.
All right, once we've got the tool in hand, we're at the back of the trailer by the license plate. On the rear bumper, there's a hole. You're going to insert this in so that this key notch is inserted inside that hole. There's a line that goes in. You want to make sure the key lines up inside there. If it doesn't go all the way in, you can see there's still more that could go in. Turn it until all of it goes in. That'll lock it in place. Once you lock it in place, then there's only 2 directions you can turn it. One way is going to make it go up, the other direction is going to make it go down. So we want it to go up clockwise until you hear that clicking sound. Once you start hearing the clicking sound, that's when it starts raising. If you don't hear the clicking sound, it's lowering. So you turning it until you hear the clicking sound. Now it's just a matter of taking your time, not overexerting yourself to make it go up all at once. If you need to rest, because it takes a bit.
1.
All right, as you can see, I stopped halfway. I wanted to do that for a reason. Again, we have that plug that we have to plug in. So there's 2 things that we have to do in order to allow us to get to the plug access so we can make it plug in accordingly. What we need to do is we need to pull out the 2 beddings, one on either side, one on front, one on back. The way you do that is you see this silver frame. With your fingers, you're going to just grab a hold of that, and then without falling backwards, pull out on it until you can get to the underside. Once you can get to the underside under this flat, then it's just like pulling any like a drawer out. You're going to pull the drawer out until you hear that sound. Okay? You'll notice that now if you're on a slope of any kind, the trailer could move. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our chalk under the tires to make it so that it's not going to roll.
1.
All right, so something that we probably could have done at the beginning of the process, but we're going to do it now, is so that the trailer does not roll while you're putting it up. We have these tire chocks. The way these work is you put one in front and lock it into one wheel, and then you go to the other wheel and you're going to apply it to the back side of it. Just like that. And now the trailer should not roll back and forth. So as you saw, we pulled this part of the trailer out, the bedding, and we're going to do the same thing on this other end as well. And now you've got the bedding out. Now what we want to do is we want to lock the bedding so that we can put weight on it without it breaking the bed down. Underneath the bed, there are locking supports. The way those things work is if you want to come underneath, they're mounted underneath the bedding, these black rods. So the best way to get them to release is you release them by hand, and what you're going to want to do is at a 45-degree angle, you want it to be inserted into this peg. Right now the weight of the bed is slanted down, so you want to lift up on the bed. I use my shoulder to apply a little bit of force so that I can get it to lock in place. Okay, we'll repeat it for the other side.
Go.
Alright, so I'm on the other side of the trailer now. Again, with my hand, I'm going to release the brace first. Now I'm going to raise up with my shoulder, allowing the tip of that to fall in so I can lock it into that peg. Now the bed section is locked in place. We'll repeat it for the back of the trailer as well.
1.
All right, we're now at the back of the trailer. We're going to repeat the process to lock the bedding portion down. However, the pegs on the back are in a different position than they were on the front. On the rear bumper is where the pegs need to be mounted. So again, the process is you remove the peg first, and then you apply a little bit of lifting until you can get that peg to insert into that section. And there you go. Now the bedding section is locked in place.
1.
All right, so once again, we have the pop-up halfway lifted. We told us we were going to wait. The reason why we're going to wait is because we have to access that far bench, and tucked inside that bench, we're going to find our extension cord that will plug into the air conditioner unit that is mounted on the roof of the trailer. If we want to put it in now, before we make it fully in its utmost position, it's going to be better for those of us that aren't that tall.
Okay.
Okay, so before I go in, I'm going to lower the step down to make it easier. The way you do that is you lift up on the step, then you pull it out till you hear it lock, and release it down, and now you have a step up into the trailer. Make sure you don't bump your head as you go in. Move things out of your way that may be stored in the trailer until you can gain access to underneath the trailer. Okay. Inside here
You want to put a light on?
Large cords, and then you're going to see a hole in the side of the trailer, and that's where you're going to put the cords through. This is the air conditioner trailer, or excuse me, the air conditioner cable. So you feed that through. And then somewhere we will have the main power cable. And if you need to use a flashlight at this point, you can use a flashlight to see better. We'll come back to this other one.
One.
All right, so we're all back on the other side of the trailer and again, and we just passed through the extension cord that'll plug into the air conditioner unit plug. And so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pull out all of it, which is about 10 feet of length. Don't yank on it until once you get it to stop. Once you get it to stop, then stop. And then now is a good time to plug it in when it's in accessible reach. Make sure that it plugs all the way in, because if you leave it out partially, the air conditioner won't turn on.
One.
All right, so now that we have the air conditioner plugged in, the next thing we want to do is we want to raise the roof of the trailer to its fullest extent. Here's a hint: if you don't want to have to get underneath the bedding, now that you've got the cables that you need out, you can put this away and stow it back in while you raise it if you would like. Otherwise, you're going to see me underneath the bedding while I crank it. So again, I'm going to crank it. And this time I'm going to crank it until it stops moving on its own. That tells me I'm in its fullest height.
One.
Okay, so once I've got it to crank all the way and I know that the trailer is fully up, very important, so that you don't lose your crank tool, now's a good time to take it out and stow it away either in your vehicle or somewhere inside the trailer where you won't get it lost.
One.
Alright, so now that we've got the roof all the way extended, next thing we want to do is we want to start putting the cover in its place. So this outer cover is going to tuck all the way over the top of this corner of the support of the bed. So the way you do that is you take 1/4, just like making a bed at home, and you're going to tuck 1 corner, and then you're going to go to the other side, find the corner, and then you're going to tuck it and tuck it in place. Okay. Later on, once we get it all the way up, we'll go underneath and we'll actually secure the corners a little bit more securely. But for now, just tuck it over the corners. Repeat the step for the front.
One.
All right, now that we got the corners of the bedding, we're ready to go inside. I'm gonna grab a flashlight so we can see, because we don't have any power to the trailer yet, so it's probably dark. So as we go in, you'll see that our kitchenette is still in the down position. What we're gonna do next is we are going to raise that up. And before you do that, the bedding and stuff that may have shifted while you pulled the trailer out, just tuck it back underneath so it's out of the way. And right here on the base of where the kitchenette is going to be positioned, there is a button here. That button is key because your lights won't work inside if, when we raise this up, it's not pushing down on that button. So the way you raise it up is down here in the front. There's a iron bar, and we're going to just lift it up until we can grab that bar, and then it's just flipping it over. Make sure that before you put it in, just make sure that, because things may have shifted when you drove, that the refrigerator is not going to be blocking. And you'll see right now it's blocking, so I've got to shift the refrigerator. There we go. So that it goes in place. Now that button, when you flip this over, should have been pushed by the corner. We'll know that once we apply power and we'll turn on the lights, and if they don't work, that's the reason.
1.
All right, so now that you're in and you got the kitchenette in place, we can now put small things while you're working, like the back support of the bench where it belongs, and on the other side as well. And move things out of your way. And now at the same time, we're going to push out on these and extend the bedding area. So the way you do that is there is a bar right here on the bed. You're going to lift up on this bar, move whatever is blocking, and then what you're going to do is you're going to just raise it up and push it out until it gets to its natural position. If you forget to do the bed supports and you try to get on there at that point, you run the risk of breaking the bed down. So make sure that your bed supports are in place before you do that step. Okay, once you get that main rod, there's a second pole you'll find, and it's shaped like an L or a hockey stick. The long section points towards the outer window of the trailer. It's got a peg on the end of it. The peg is going to insert in the center of that pole into the hole, and you flip it over, and this part of the peg or the rod is going to find its way inside this hole here. It's got a button for release, and so what you're going to do is you're going to apply a little bit of pressure towards the out of the trailer to make sure it goes inside. Once it's inside, push down on that peg and lock it in. Now this side of the bed is complete. We'll repeat the step for the other side.
1.
All right, so now that the beds on both sides are fully opened up, the rest of the thing is just putting power to the trailer. And so we're going to access this bench again. And now that I have light, I can see where my cord is and where my plug is. All right, so here's my plug, here's the end of it. And so again, same as we did on the other cord, is we're going to feed it through. And once you feed it through, feel free to feed as much cable as you need to find your access point to where you're going to be plugging into. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, while you're here, once you have the main cable pushed through to the outer part, reach in and you're going to grab these two items, your main extension cord and your converter to convert it to 15 amp.
Okay.
All right, so once you're back outside and you found your power source, you plug in one end of your extension cord and you're going to find the other end of your main trailer power. Make sure you have enough length, and so you'll notice that the trailer power plug is different from your extension cord. So that's where we're going to use this converter. So this is going to convert this type of a plug. When you plug this in, it converts it back to your standard plug. Plug both of those in, and we should have power to the trailer. Let's go find out. All right, so up on the roof you have some lights. Voila, we have power. Pause.
1.
All right, so once we have light power, the last thing we want to check to make sure is if our plug for our AC unit is properly secured and we have power to the air conditioner unit. So go back inside the trailer and we're going to turn it on. Yes, it works. So you have a knob on this side. I'm going to turn it off while I talk to you about it. All right, so you have two knobs. All right, the knob that has the fan blades on it is your actual fan power. You have 3 different levels of adjustment. You can turn it to low, medium, or high. And then on the other knob, you have red to blue. That indicates cold to hot for air conditioners that have the heating element support as well. I don't know if we have that on ours. So we'll only be using the air conditioner in Florida anyhow.
We're good.
Okay. Oh yeah. Pause it, unpause it again. That's
1.
All right, so once you have power and you're getting air conditioning, the next thing we want to do is the main flow of air is going to come straight down from the middle. You have a slide bar that'll open and shut those vents. If you want it to come from the sides, each side has a vent opening where you can open it to allow the air to pass through the top. And if you want to shut the underneath side, then you won't get the direct airflow on your face.
1.
Okay, so we have power, we have AC, and now we have no door. So the very last step in putting up our pop-up is going to be to take the door, which is mounted on the roof of the trailer for travel. It's going to release, and we're going to properly insert it in its position to create the door for the pop-up. So the way you do that is, if you want to come in with the camera, on the door entry side, there is a release peg, and the door has holes in it. The holes slide into this support right here while it's in travel. And you'll notice that this peg, I don't know what it's supposed to do. There, it locks it in place until you push it here. And then it's locked it in place. And now, I don't know, it's a locking feature. I don't know how it works. But in order to get it to release, you raise it from those pegs. Okay. On the other side of the door, it is being held up by 2 different methods. The actual door itself is on a rail, which is held on by this cable on both sides. So it'll hold it in place. There's also these snaps that are up here that kind of hold it a little bit higher, but they don't actually hold the weight of it. So once I unsnap these, it just releases it a little bit, releases it a little bit, and now I want to come back to this side. I'm going to raise this up, and when I bring it down, by bringing it down, now you can see that I can slide the door along the rails. So the way the door fits in place is there's a slot right at the outer threshold, and there's a rail support on the left hand side. The door is going to slide inside that positioning. Okay, and on the top, there's a peg here and a peg on the other side. On the door itself, there's these slots. So what needs to happen is that peg needs to be placed so that it pokes through. Move the tarp away if you need to. And right now it's not lining up. And so what that means is the roof is not completely raised up as much. And it's probably because of the weight of the air conditioning unit. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to raise it up manually. And this is kind of a challenge. It may take 2 of you. But you raise it up until the peg goes through the slot. Then you twist it in this locking position. And you repeat the same for the other part. You can use your hand on that part to get it to try to do its thing. There you go. So raise it, push it, and lock it in place. Don't put all your weight on the side of the trailer. Try to just apply enough force to move the door, and that's it. So now that it's in its locked position, you have a Velcro that'll go over the top, along the window. It's skirted with Velcro. Here's the black part of the Velcro. There it is. And now you have a door to go in and out.
One.
All right, so the trailer is fully up. So the last final step that we're going to do is we're going to go back under the bed section, and we're going to secure the tarp portion by looking at this bungee cord. Underneath the wood section of the bed, there's a hook, and you're just going to hook that in place. There's a hook on this one, so you just hook that in place and then repeat it on the other sides, and that'll keep the bed portion from coming undone during wind or weather or just using the trailer.
Can I pause it?
Yeah.